The term Omega Level Mutant was first used as Class Omega in the 1986 Uncanny X-Men issue number 208, but it didn't imply anything other than to denote a particularly high level of power. The last time this idiom was employed was in the television miniseries X-Men Forever from 2001. There have been many opposing opinions and conversations since there hasn't been a clear definition of what or who is deemed to be an Omega level mutant in the comics for a long time. In July 2019, as part of the X-Men relaunch, which got underway with Jonathan Hickman's House of X, Marvel provided an official description: a mutant whose dominant power is deemed to register or reach an undefinable upper limit of that power's specific classification. Today, we explore the 11 most underrated superheroes among these Omega level mutants. Before we go into our explanation, we have a very small request. If you like our content, please support us by subscribing to our channel. This is a small click for you, but for us, it means a lot. Thank you. Let's begin. Iceman. Bobby Louis Robert Drake was born in Floral Park, Long Island, New York, into a Jewish Catholic family to Madeline and William Drake. His mutant qualities became obvious one day when he accidentally froze the entire pool. He was always shivering. Being aware that Bobby might have been in danger if his secret had escaped, he and his parents were extremely careful. Soon after turning 16, Robert and his girlfriend Judy Harmon were attacked by the bully Rocky Beasley and his gang. Robert was forced to utilize his cryokinetic abilities to stop the attackers. After hearing about it, a lynch mob began to persecute Robert, demanding his execution. Bobby was imprisoned for his own safety by the local sheriff, who delayed the planned execution. Following the information, Professor Charles Xavier asked Cyclops to step in and save Bobby. Drake declined Cyclops' invitation to accompany him, and the two mutants began fighting before the arrival of the crowds. Along with Robert's parents and friends, Xavier intervened and used his telepathic abilities to erase the memories of other individuals. Following these events, Bobby bid his parents farewell and joined the X-Men. Intense cold is projected from the body of the mutant known as Iceman because of his superhuman capacity to reduce both his internal and exterior body temperatures. The hypothalamus, a region of the brain, houses the nerve centers responsible for controlling Iceman's body temperature, much like they do in a typical human body. However, Iceman can cognitively overrule his hypothalamus, allowing an unidentified internal process to reduce his body temperature. Through this power, the latent thermal energies within and around his body are transformed into an unidentified type of energy that is quickly dispersed. His bodily tissues are resistant to freezing due to a similar mutation. Iceman can instantaneously and purposefully lower his body temperature from its regular 98.6 degrees Fahrenheit to absolute zero, the point at which all atomic motion stops in just a few tenths of a second. The strength of Iceman's ice-making abilities are so powerful that he was able to stop an explosion inside of a fusion core. The surrounding air moisture that comes in contact with Iceman also freezes as his body temperature falls. This vapor condenses into an ice layer that envelops his entire body, much as condensed moisture creates frost. His facial characteristics are likewise hidden by it. Initially, this coating resembled snow when the Iceman started to reduce his body temperature, but as he grew more adept at intensifying his chill, the covering came to have the consistency of crystalline ice. With every movement of his body, this ice continually breaks and then repairs. As a result, when the Iceman, who is encased in ice, moves, there is a cracking sound. The ability to manage his coldness has been perfected by Iceman, who can now deliberately lower his body's temperature in certain areas. Due to the lack of heat surrounding him, he also possesses thermal vision, which allows him to perceive creatures by the heat signatures that they emit. Iceman has the mutant ability to manipulate moisture, turning any moisture in the air into very hard ice. The only restrictions on what he may create with this ice lie in his creativity and the surrounding air temperature, which affects how long his creation will remain frosty. He can mold ice into any shape he wants without having to physically grasp it in his hands. He can do so by manipulating the waves of coldness that he emits. The Iceman has created ice constructions so powerful that they can easily encircle and imprison people like the Hulk, preventing them from escaping. He possesses the ability to make snowfall and blizzards. Elixir. Joshua Foley was always a popular kid because he was good at sports, loved by his friends, and attracted girls. Josh used to be a member of the mutant-hating group the Reavers, and was the popular guy who regularly picked on the outcasts. During their first encounter, Donald Pierce slashed Josh across the hand as he displayed his blade arm. As soon as the wound began to heal on its own, Josh put the incident behind him. When the Reavers attacked the students at Xavier's, especially Moonstar's New Mutants squad, Josh's friend was harmed. Josh discovered in this moment that he was now capable of healing. He first made an effort to conceal this ability, but after saving Wallflower from Pierce's attack by using it to heal her, he changed his mind. He was hesitant to accept Danny Moonstar's invitation to remain at Xavier's, but he eventually agreed after being rejected by his family and friends due to his new mutant status. Elixir is a mutant of the Omega class with the power to heal on an Omega level. At the time of M-Day, the One declared him to be a general threat, but when he utilized his powers offensively, the One supposedly reclassified him and orange flagged him. Elixir can alter both his own and other people's biological makeup. He can produce biomolecular energy whenever he needs it to affect organic substances. This gives him the ability to reactivate brain functions, revive dormant mutant abilities, heal physical wounds to his body or the bodies of others, and specifically alter the structure of his molecules. Due to Elixir's command over his biology and the hurdles of treating him medically, he's proven to be an extremely difficult case. After exerting his powers excessively, he usually loses consciousness and goes into a coma. Dr. Nemesis hypothesized that during these times, his DNA reboots. He may one day master his powers well enough to alter the human genome, implanting physical features, altering eye, hair, and skin color, or even reactivating dormant mutant or atavistic genes. He is potentially capable of rewriting someone's genetic code on a whim. He is concerned that he has only scratched the surface of his potential, in his own words. He may heal or kill through clothing while employing his close quarters ability, although he generally touches his target. Josh recently discovered a method to simultaneously affect numerous targets with his powers without actually touching them. In the beginning, Josh was able to repair wounds like broken bones, severe burns, and even a deadly stabbing to the chest. Since gaining access to Beast's understanding of human anatomy, physiology, and biology, Elixir has demonstrated an enhanced mastery of his skills. He was able to heal X-23 of the Legacy virus, restore Prodigy's heart to health, calm an enraged Wolfsbane and cleanse her body of narcotics, and even transfer life force from one person to another, as he did with Wolfsbane and her yet-to-be-born child. He has the power to harm humans and cause various illnesses, significant swelling, and organ failure. Wither's corpse was nearly instantly destroyed, Belasco, the powerful demon, was killed, and Stryker was murdered with a scarcely perceptible touch. In addition to giving the Vanisher a brain tumor, he was able to mold it into the shape of the X-Men emblem now that he has perfected his abilities. Elixir's skin turned golden when he used his mutant abilities to cure himself. This may be because Elixir triggered a secondary mutation within himself. Prodigy hypothesized that Elixir's skin, which is typically golden, changes to a deep metallic black color when he uses his powers to harm or murder people. It has been said that Elixir has difficulty changing from black to golden, and this reaction appears to be entirely automatic. Psylocke. Elizabeth Braddock's father, James Braddock Sr., originally lived in a far-off realm. He was sent in to help Captain Britain become the finest protector of the entire planet. Eventually, he fathered a set of twins, Brian and Elizabeth. Betsy and her twin brother's life was anything but ordinary. Betsy was born and raised in the UK's small hamlet of Malden, Essex. Psylocke was one of the few Marvel characters that were given a birth date. She was born on April 23, 1956, shortly after midnight. Her birth year varies, of course, since comic book characters have a tendency to either not age at all or to age extremely slowly. Betsy's parents passed away while she and her brother were in their late teens or early 20s. Brian declared physics as his major in college, while Betsy decided to become a charter pilot. In the end, Brian attained the rank of Captain Britain. Being a mutant from birth, Betsy originally inherited precognitive abilities and later developed telepathic powers. One of the strongest mutant psychics, Betsy Braddock has acquired a wide variety of telepathic and telekinetic abilities over the years. In addition to her Captain Britain skills, she has demonstrated psychic ability at various periods in her life. Braddock creates psychic blades, razor-sharp edges of pure mental energy that she plunges straight into the minds of her enemies by aggressively channeling and directing her psionic abilities through her hands. This psionic knife has been described as the focused sum of Betsy's psychic talents. Braddock regularly employs the psychic knives to impale the heads of her foes with a brilliant sword of mental energy, destroying their synapses. It is capable of killing a human. Psylocke can employ psionic blasts to project psionic force bolts, which can change a victim's mentality and cause them to feel pain, confusion, unconsciousness, or even outright kill them. She occasionally uses this in addition to her combat skills while battling several opponents at once. Astral projection allows her to leave her body and travel in both corporeal and astral worlds in her astral form. On the astral plane, she can psionically create objects and manipulate the environment. In the presence of the Crimson Dawn, she was generally invisible in her astral form. She can also conceal her existence from others through psionic shadow. Even with extremely strong telepaths like Shadow King, her powers might slip past and are incredibly challenging to trace. She can also extend these defenses to others nearby. Her telepathic illusions give her the ability to create sensations and events that are not truly happening, to seem invisible or to be somewhere else. Cable. Nathan Christopher Charles Summers, better known by his screen name Cable, is the offspring of Scott Summers and Madeline Pryor, who was a clone of Jean Grey. Mr. Sinister was unable to utilize this child as a weapon against Apocalypse as he had previously hoped. Apocalypse gave the child a techno-organic virus that causes an incurable illness. The infected Cable was then sent forward in time. He returned to the present to fight Strife and to stop Apocalypse from taking control. During his de-aging process, Cable primarily lost his talents, but when he aged up again, he progressively regained them as well as some new abilities. Cable claimed that his telepathy and telekinesis entirely disappeared after traveling across time with the mutant Messiah. However, to prevent the techno-organic virus from taking over his body, Cable still needed to use some telekinesis while fighting Strife. He also used his much-reduced telepathy and telekinesis. He also stopped using these abilities after Providence was destroyed. He is a known alpha-level mutant. Cable has lost his telepathy and replaced it with a technical connection to the InfoNet, which makes him a cyberpath with the capacity to read digital data and broadcasts rather than minds. He also showed his power against Captain America to force the InfoNet to link other people's ideas. In reality, he has used technology to bolster his meager telepathic abilities. Cable can project other people's ideas. Nathan has a high level of control over several things, including himself. He can lift heavy objects to hundreds of tons on higher levels, but his maximum weightlifting capacity has not been revealed. He was described as a level Omega telekinetic. Cable can rapidly and easily build complicated devices after explosively disassembling them, removing every component, including screws, nuts, circuit boards, etc. This ability has also given him knowledge of and control over little things, such as individual electrons in an atom. For instance, Cable may evaluate the hermeticism of a seal by scanning for invading oxygen molecules. He could even discriminate between different oxygen molecules, find them, and figure out their atomic weight based on how many atoms they had. By saying body slide by 2, he may teleport or body slide to almost any area with a passenger. Theoretically, if he says body slide by 1, he should be able to teleport by himself. As he body slips, Cable briefly loses his ability of telekinesis and body sliding. This power was demonstrated in the Civil War comic book arc as well as the Cable and Deadpool series. There have been hints that Rachel Gray and Cable both possess time-traveling skills. He may not be able to utilize this skill again after using it once with assistance. Jamie Braddock is the elder sibling of Elizabeth and Brian Braddock, more commonly known as Psylocke and Captain Britain. All three of them were the offspring of Sir James Braddock, a Captain Britain corpsman who was regarded as the best of his period, and Lady Elizabeth Braddock. The oldest Braddock child, Jamie was given his father's name. Between Jamie and his two siblings, there was a big age difference of 10 years. This, along with the fact that Brian and Elizabeth were twins, led to the fact that they were much more close to each other than their elder brother, which occasionally irritated Jamie. Despite his emotional detachment, Jamie frequently took care of his younger siblings, providing for them as an elder brother would. Although Jamie was said to lack otherworlder abilities, his mutation still made him a strong entity. His status as an Omega-powered mutant has been determined. According to Jamie, the cosmos consists of elusive string structures that he can control by tugging them or just by thinking about the results he wants to get. Phased entities show some resistance, thus he can only operate with thick forms. In the past, he had to go close enough to touch the cosmic filaments that made up their outer shell. His range and power have increased as a result of previous events in his siblings' lives and the way Krakoan resurrections increase a mutant's potential. His former restrictions are no longer an issue, and he may now generate while grinning. Jamie showed magical abilities after his resurrection, including the ability to influence people's minds and summon extraterrestrial creatures. Because Otherworld is a location of ideas and there is more magic flowing there, his magical abilities are significantly stronger there. Jamie showed what appears to be extraordinary power by surviving a knife assault and even having both of his legs severed below the knee. The Peak 7 tore out his insides as he simultaneously birthed a second Peak 7.
You up. Hey, stop it!
Proteus. As Kevin MacTaggart's mutant abilities manifested, psychic energy erupted throughout his body. Moira MacTaggart, Kevin's mother, locked him up in a room of her own design to protect him from his powers and those of others. During this time, Kevin went mad and harbored immense resentment towards his parents due to his seemingly never-ending suffering. Proteus became his new name, and after escaping from jail, Proteus attacked the X-Men members Phoenix, Jamie Madrox, the Multiple Man, and Polaris, who were on Muir Island at the time. Polaris and the Multiple Man were easily defeated, but Phoenix nearly killed him. Mutant Proteus possesses a potent psychic ability to manipulate and alter reality. To use his reality warping powers against his victim, at first, Proteus had to make eye contact with them. He demonstrated that he was not limited in this way concerning inanimate objects by stretching a reality warp across most or all of Edinburgh. Proteus is also capable of telepathy. His ability to bend reality has been the subject of some X-Men speculation in the past, but the overwhelming body of evidence suggests that Proteus's abilities are true, so the degree of his telepathic abilities is still a mystery. Proteus is made up entirely of energy, and he can fully occupy human bodies. Strife. Scott Summers was still grieving the death of his true love, Jean Grey, when he found a new life with Madeline Pryor. They had Nathan Summers, who would eventually become Cable, after they were married. Nathan was a child of prophecy, born to end the darkness known as the Apocalypse. Apocalypse responded by infecting the child with the techno-organic virus, killing him. When a stranger called Ascani emerged after Scott and Jean, who had earlier returned alive and well, destroyed Apocalypse at his moon castle, Scott was forced to abandon Madeline. The stranger was a member of the 2,000-year-old clan Ascani. The woman tells Scott that in order to save his child, she needs to transport him into the future. She tells Cyclops that he won't ever see his son again. With the hope that she might truly be able to save him, Scott offers her the child. It is revealed that Nathan's half-sister, Rachel Summers, who has traveled across time, is the leader of the Ascani. Apocalypse, the ruler of this future, is opposed by the Ascani. Rachel intended to rescue Nathan from the past and makes an effort to heal him so that he can fulfill the prophecy to overthrow Apocalypse and free the world from his dominion. Rachel had the Ascani clone the newborn, which was against Ascani tradition, in an effort to rescue the savior child because the sickness had spread faster than expected. Because the techno-organic virus was kept under control during the cloning process, Nathan was spared. The triumph was fleeting, however, as a traitor among the Ascani tipped off the soldiers of Apocalypse, who then stormed their safe haven. During the raid, the cloned infant was captured and presented to Apocalypse. This clone was brought up to be Strife. Much like Cable, Strife is also an Omega Level mutant. He possesses powerful psionic talents, including telepathic and telekinetic skills. With the use of his telepathy, Strife was able to read people's minds, enter their heads, and exert control over their ideas and behavior, paralyze them physically, and knock people out cold with mental bolts. Strife could also construct incredibly strong psychic barriers within his mind to keep others' thoughts from invading and to defend it from telepathic attack. Most telepaths were unable to penetrate these barriers due to their strength. Strife was a strong telekinetic who could concentrate to move and control objects, even ones that were quite massive and heavy. He could also create telekinetic force fields to protect himself from harm, telekinetic barriers to stop others from moving, and offensive telekinetic energy blasts. Strife's telepathic abilities were far more advanced than Cable's when he was still alive, since most of Cable's psychic resources were being unintentionally used to prevent the techno-organic virus from wreaking havoc on the right side of his body. Strife also has superhuman strength, stamina, agility, speed, reflexes, and durability. Vulcan. It seems Catherine Summers, the mother of Scott and Alex Summers, was pregnant when she was abducted by the extraterrestrial species known as the Shi'ar. Deken, the Shi'ar Empire's Magister, appeared to have killed the unborn child and Catherine at the same time. The youngster did live, though, and was thereafter used as a slave after being aged to adolescence in an incubator accelerator. Gabriel was dispatched to Earth to help Devon Shikari, a Shi'ar agent who would eventually go by the moniker Eric the Red. Geneticist Moira McTaggart discovered Gabriel when he managed to get away, and she encouraged him to join a group of adolescent mutants she was mentoring. He agreed and adopted the moniker Vulcan. When Professor X realized that Vulcan and Cyclops were related, he brought the brothers back together. Vulcan was formerly an alpha-level mutant, but after absorbing some of the energies from the depowered mutants from M-Day, his power levels were raised to that of an Omega-level mutant. Professor Xavier, Rachel Gray, and Emma Frost have all corroborated this. Any kind of energy could be absorbed by Vulcan, who could then use that energy to power his blasts. Although virtually limitless, his capacity for energy absorption and manipulation had their upper bounds. For instance, after being thrown into a sun by Vulcan, his brother Havoc held him at his mercy and was capable of simply overwhelming him with his tremendous force. Vulcan demonstrated his ability to drain his adversary's power. This was illustrated by Vulcan stealing Marvel Girl's capacity to psychically disclose historical events in the X-Men Deadly Genesis storyline. Vulcan's ability to keep these traits indefinitely is uncertain. Hope Summers. Hope was the first mutant to be born following the decimation events. Hope was born in Cooperstown, Alaska, to Louise Spaulding and an unnamed man, with cerebro bursting immediately after her birth. The time-traveling sentinel, only known as Nimrod, informed the Purifiers about the baby's birth, and they soon attacked Cooperstown. Hope was the only child left unharmed when the Purifiers attacked, and Cable eventually showed up to rescue her. The child, whose name was Hope, was rumored to be the mutant messiah who would save both mutants and all of humanity, according to Cable. During the Hellfire Gala, Hope terraformed Mars with the help of other Omega-level mutants. She gave Proteus and Vulcan the energy they needed to complete their part of the operation, helping them. To atone for almost causing the extinction of mutant kind, the Scarlet Witch persuaded her father to help her create a project that would allow the resurrection of mutants who had died before the creation of Professor Xavier's resurrection protocols. Wanda would have to die at her father's hands, though, in order to experience the resurrection herself. At Wanda's suggestion, Magneto added Hope to the plot. The plan was foiled when the Quiet Council, who were unaware of Wanda's goals, refused to permit her resurrection, even though it appeared that she had been dead. Magneto was pushed to the ground and emerged as the primary suspect during a fight with the X-Men, X-Force, and X-Factor. Hope was working closely with Professor Xavier, but she was reluctant when he asked her to assist him investigating Magneto's mentality. Hope awakened him from his slumber and told Magneto to buy time while the Five revived Wanda. The plan's eventual success led to the construction of the Eldritch Orchard, which the Five could use to revive individuals who had died before the resurrection process. The first to be revived was an early X-Man named Thunderbird. Hope's main ability allows her to mimic any surrounding mutant's ability. Hope does not require physical touch, and the individual whose capabilities are replicated is not harmed, in contrast to other mutants with comparable abilities, such as Rogue. Hope doesn't appear to need to learn how to use, or even witness the power in action to use any power she replicates. Instead, she may use it right away. No matter how much control the original wielder has over them, or how fully developed their powers are, the powers she replicates are at their peak, and she has complete control over them. Although there is no known restriction on the number of powers Hope may replicate at once, doing so puts a strain on her body. Time, space, and usage all cause the power she imitates to diminish. It is also interesting that after Hope's initial identification at birth, Cerebra detonated. She had been captured by the Marauders, but had managed to avoid mutant detecting equipment, so the 3-in-1 tried to find her when the repairs were done. It is possible she was just being protected by Cable though, considering that he remained by her from the moment she left the hospital until he went to stop the Nimrod series Sentinels. Hope was once again able to go into hiding by using a device Cable had shown her how to make while the X-Men and Avengers were looking everywhere for her. 5 new X-genes appeared throughout the world not long after Hope returned to the present. These were the first fresh indications of mutant power since M-Day, aside from her birth. The appearance of further mutants has persisted, but slower than with the first 5. Hope was able to exercise some influence over the lights, which were revealed to be interconnected with one another and the new activations. Both subliminal low-level persuasion or manipulation of the lights by Hope, as well as the capacity to fully seize control of them when provoked, have been demonstrated. The suicide of Zishan affected all the lights as well. Both Lori and Kenji saw what happened, and subsequently, Kate Pride did as well. Powerhouse. A superhuman from the planet Xandar named Rieg Devon endured the strenuous training required by the Siphon warrior branch of the Nova Corps. Due in large part to his tremendous power, Rieg quickly gained notoriety as one of the greatest warriors in the Siphons division. Rieg had no memory of his prior existence when he first came to Earth. The terrible Condor, who employed him as a component of the terrible trio, took advantage of this. After regaining his memories, he embarked on a journey to Xandar alongside the other champions. He would work with Nova to gather the champions of Xandar and face the Sphinx and Skrulls. Mutant Franklin Richards, son of Reed Richards and Sue Storm, possesses extraordinary psychic abilities. In the future, Franklin will have massive telepathic and telekinetic abilities, as well as the capacity to fire very powerful energy blasts and change the chemical composition of matter and energy on a cosmic scale. His abilities are so strong that, rather than other mutants, he has been likened to Celestials and even said to be superior to them. Franklin was long regarded as one of the Marvel Universe's most potent mutants in terms of untapped potential, far exceeding even mutants like Charles Xavier and Magneto. He is capable of controlling reality itself, near omnipotent, nearly limitless abilities to bend reality. Even at such a young age, he is so gifted that he can construct pocket universes in other realities. He has the power to rearrange the chemical composition of matter and energy, even on a cosmic scale. He has the power to project his ideas outward in an unlimited sphere and read people's minds. He has telekinetic powers that allow him to float, control inanimate objects, and to some extent, psionically manipulate energy. At such a young age, he is capable of lifting up to 10 tons of weight, which might eventually become an infinite amount of weight, and it allows him to fly very quickly. Franklin can foresee potential future occurrences thanks to his precognitive powers, which show up in his dreams. He predicts the future's most likely course. Thus, even if there are innumerable conceivable outcomes, his forecasts typically come true. Franklin appears to be unable to predict the future beyond a few days. When Franklin became aware of this, his precognitive abilities had grown to the point that he could see pictures of future occurrences. Franklin has complete control over the 4 fundamental forces of the universe, which give him the ability to create practically any result he desires. As a result, Franklin can absorb, control, and release energy from the whole electromagnetic spectrum with enough destructive force to destroy planets. Exodus. The progenitor of Exodus was a Frenchman named Bonnet Duperrey, who joined the Black Knight Eobar Garrington in the 12th century. Duperrey set out for the Palestinian city of Aqaba on a spiritual journey and in pursuit of mystical power. When Duperrey discovered that the Black Knight would not aid him in his quest for supremacy, he embarked on his own journey. Duperrey landed in Aqaba after going through many near-death experiences. There, the Scarab minion faced him. Duperrey was informed by the Scarab that he had already held the secret power, it had only been dormant. The Scarab struggled against Duperrey as a test and failed. After demonstrating his ability to endure, Duperrey met Apocalypse. Duperrey became Exodus as Apocalypse improved and accelerated his mutant abilities, bridging the gap between the distant past and the unavoidable future. Exodus has extraordinary psychic abilities. His ability to telekinetically raise the island of Araco and deliver it to Mars was his greatest accomplishment. He can levitate both himself and others. He can produce powerful fields that allow him to shatter objects within them, while also making him virtually invulnerable. He said that Genosha will be destroyed using one of his farms. He is also capable of flying quickly. His mutant powers become more potent when other people or he himself trusts in his abilities. Exodus can heal and resurrect, in addition to manipulating electromagnetic fields to produce intense heat that can be directed at specific targets. He can teleport himself, his belongings, and additional mass between 2 points. He has demonstrated a variety of telepathic abilities with other people's minds, including reading and sending and receiving ideas across great distances. Exodus can feed off other people's psychic energy, stealing and absorbing psychic energy from people around him to his own benefit. Marvelous verdict. Mutant power classifications aren't exactly the clearest of concepts. Omega level mutants are often known as those that possess powers without foreseeable limits. The previously stated mutants are marvelous examples of that, as they possess powers like telekinesis, telepathy, and matter manipulation, which don't exactly have power caps. These make them truly ultra-powerful superheroes in the Marvel Universe. And if you liked our content, don't forget to leave a like and subscribe to us if you haven't already. Have a good one, be safe out there, thanks for watching.